Would you talk to the doctor? All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Talk to the Doctor. And I'm here today with Hans Hagen, who is ex-pro surfer, filmmaker, one of the founders or executive director of Mauli Ola Foundation, and also just so many radio talk show host, former model. I mean, this man's a Renaissance man. He's done it all and still doing more. So I want to say thank you, Hans, for coming into my show.
Dude, thanks for having me.
You got it, man. It's really stoked to have you. So, you know what I like to do is I just like to just jump right into like, where did it all start for you? And it's interesting because you've done so many things and are still doing so many things that, I mean, where would that even be? But I think surfing would be the calling card that we all have in common on my show.
Yeah, I think surfing's definitely the thread of it all.
Cool.
And we all do whatever we can to stay in the water. So, and that's been a theme in my life. But yeah, I grew up in Laguna Beach, and my dad was a surfer. He grew up here. He was in El Monte and moved out to the West Coast. My mom was the first graduating class of San Clemente High.
Right.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So surfing was just like,
was that 66?
Oh man,
I think right in there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
I think so. Yeah.
But anyways, my dad got me into it early when I was about 8.
And your dad was a surfer.
Yeah, he was a surfer,
cool.
and he had a surf school that he ran out of San Onofre back in the day, and then my uncle was Danny Bronner. My cousins was Damien. So I got my first Hobie bat tail single fin, this beautiful board when I was 8 years old, and kind of the rest was history. That was like the turning point of just getting in the water.
Totally.
And when you're at Doheny and San Onofre and you do your first cut back, it's like
you're hooked.
Like the light went off and I was playing. Yeah,
absolutely. Any of us gets our first wave, it's done. We're just, it's the most amazing thing in the world. Whatever sports you did, whatever you did before you did that, it just, I don't know. It's so, to be on moving water and just, it's so amazing. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
It entranced our whole lives. Look at us now, decades later. But yeah, so that's where your dad had a surf school at San Onofre. It's so funny because I was just talking to Josh Baxter, who has his there,
Yeah.
And it's just, I never knew that. I also didn't know you were related to Damien and Danny and that family, and that's really cool stuff. You know what I like is when people are checking out my show and they're just really finding stuff about people they didn't know, And so here I am hosting the show and finding out stuff. We barely got started and I'm already finding out all this cool stuff about you, So let me ask you this, like, do you remember your first your first surfboard that you identified with? It was like, oh my God, I got my first board. Was that a longboard, a shortboard?
It was definitely that Hobie. It was a Hobie bat tail. I don't know why I ever sold it. It's like just this beautiful board, yellow pinstripes. Danny did the pinstripes. Sick. And I got it on my birthday down at Doheny with all my friends gawking over it. And I was just like, I learned how to do all my first turns.
And you were how old?
That was, I believe, my 10th birthday. I stood on a wave my first time when I was 8, borrowing my dad's equipment. And then
you got your own
That
stick.
was like when you got your own stick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a game
Especially
over.
all custom by Danny like that.
Game over.
I mean,
yeah.
Or more like game on.
Game
you know
on.
what I'm saying? Yeah, game on.
Well, maybe game over for like soccer and baseball.
Definitely.
That all the team sports I was doing. Yeah.
I mean, as fun as they are, it's like, it doesn't compare to the freedom of surfing, and just, it's fun. Team sports is great, but yeah, like I said, once you do that, it's over. It's on, and whatever it is. Yeah.
It's on.
It's on. Yeah. So it's really cool. And then at what point did you, because I know you, as we move forward, I know that you had quite a career in, you pursued pro surfing and were, I always thought you not just have, but really cool style. Like, you were a guy that I would see surfing and go, man, guy surfs, good enough competitively, but also brought a lot of style to it. Like my other friend Hans in San Clemente, Hans Silstra, insane. He surfs so good, He surfed competitively too. I think you went further than him. I'm sure you did, but he also had that kind of just really cool style. So when did you explore taking it from doing it for fun to actually going, man, I want to get some heats, man? What's up with this?
Yeah, it started early. I mean, we had the Brook Street Classic, which has been going on. It's the longest running surf contest in the world. I mean, some people might say otherwise, but it's what, 58 years?
Damn.
But it was kind of a rite of passage. So when I was 12, I entered that, and then it It was actually Jeff Booth's father, Bob, who was like, hey, there's this thing called the NSSA. And so I went full steam into that. I was up and down the coast with my dad doing all the events. And, it was like Shane Beshin and Rob Machado, Taylor Knox, that generation, Adam Ropogel.
A very competitive bunch.
Oh, it was cutthroat. Evan Slater. We were on it. It was 15 minutes, beach starts. It was just like top 4 waves. I mean, and
4-man heats. Right?
And 4-man heats. Actually,
heats.
6-man heats.
Oh, God.
But it was like, the Jamie George, the Chris Browns. I mean, I could just...
Yeah.
Just the generation. It was highly competitive. It was definitely a prime time in the, in the 80s, early 80s. The NSSA was just like a farm league. And we were...
Totally.
I was all in. I mean, I was like...
Totally into
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really wanted to use that as you wanted to be a pro surfer. You wanted to step from that to that to that to get on tour, whatever it was back then, which has evolved a lot since then. But I mean, even then it was full on.
Yeah.
It was in the 70s when it was barely a thing, and then it became a thing. By the 80s, it was on.
But if you watch those 70s movies as a kid and see Sean Thompson and MR and, all these guys, and then, Herbie's movies and everything, around that, it was like, it was so much larger than life. And I was like,
Definitely.
For me, I look back at now and I'm in my 50s. I'm like, God, you're like a dreamer, but it was there. The stage was set, and you saw people getting success, guys like Archie and a ton of others,
and kind of started to make some money at it too. Like in the 70s, they were getting like trophies, and there wasn't much money in it, but it was cool. It was very prestigious. And we saw, speaking of Mark Richards and Sean Thompson in that era, we saw performances in movies that or live, that were just so inspiring. Just like, my God, they were so good, right?
Yeah.
And then so I think it brought up a generation after that, the Brownies and the Beshins and you guys, and so many guys from different towns too. It had a real each town was producing quite a bit of talent. Right?
Yeah. And we haven't even mentioned, then you get the nationals and then you meet guys like Kelly Slater, where you're like, whoa, he's incredible.
He was incredible. Yeah. I remember the first time I saw him surf, I was surfing off the wall and he was surfing it backdoor, and I had heard the hype and I had never seen him. And I saw him catch one wave, and I think he was like 15, 16, teenager.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it instantly. I went, oh man, I see what they're talking about. Like, he just surfed really smooth and fast. And I want to say the word was radical, but he was so good it wouldn't even look radical because he was so smooth. Like, I don't know. I could definitely see what was happening. I don't know if we knew he was going to be that good.
Yeah.
But yeah, what an amazing deal.
Yeah, we were lucky, like my parents always said, like, they dropped me off at the airport when I was 15 for the first time to go to Australia by myself, or go do the Pro Junior and live with another family. And then you're meeting all the Australian guys like Nathan Webster and, Matt Hoy and
Noodles, right?
Yeah, Noodles, exactly. So
how cool.
And then obviously going to Hawaii for the first time and same time, and
which is in many ways more intimidating than going all the way to Australia, right?
Yeah.
Landing in Hawaii. I mean, it's a wonderful surf land, but there's a lot of heaviness there that I think we all go there and have to understand how to navigate that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
and all the stories and lore that comes with it, and how heavy the waves can be. And
a quick interruption to the show. Question of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Who would you like to see on tour? I got to say, there's a lot of possibilities. Let us know in the comments. Back to the episode. It's so good for you. I went there when I was 12 years old the first time, and it was 1972, and I was 12, and I went to Kauai, and there was 9,000 people on the island. It was like Tahiti 30 years ago. I mean, it was just so virgin and beautiful and cool.
Yeah.
Like, and then, back and forth a bunch of times as a teenager. Finally moved actually to the north. So I moved to like Kokipa side of Maui in the late 70s, and gosh, man.
Yeah,
it's just, it's a trip too, as Hans says. A lot of us talk about this thing called gentrification, right? And I wonder how you guys feel about it in Laguna. I just feel like we know, like, it's a big thing for me to speak about real quickly is, like, by going to Hawaii, and the locals have this vibe, and I understand the vibe. I understand why they would be mad. And so I would when they'd be kind of coming at me when I first moved there, you know, I'd be like, whoa, come on, man. I got the same shit going on at home that you do here. It's a little different, but we had a certain thing, and there's a lot of people moving in and making it more expensive, and you feel a little distanced from, you know, come on, we share something here, you know?
Yeah.
And so I would just like to ask, like, because I know in San Clemente we don't try to get too bitter. We know we're still living the dream, but it's shifted a lot over the years in terms of like just the cost of housing or the cost of living, and all these kind of wealthy people moving in, and then it kind of changes the whole vibe. And so it's the whole gentrification thing. But I go to Laguna a lot, and I've just always wondered if the boys from there feel it. I mean, I don't know. Is that something you guys feel there?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's hard to hold on to a culture, and especially a culture of respect. Yeah. And yeah, why wouldn't the Hawaiians be pissed?
Exactly.
Like we're public enemy number one. You're tall, white, and you come from a place of opportunity and things like that. And I think if you approach anyone, I've done a lot of traveling in all kinds of places, and you know, if you go to Tonga or Samoa or any of the island cultures, you just have to respect what their traditions are and understand where they're coming from. Yeah. Because it's like, yeah, it's not something to conquer. It's something to observe and enjoy, and you could tap into the mana, tap into the power of the ocean, and like that's a privilege. Yeah. It's not like yours for the taking, and you could learn from these people and these cultures, and I was taught that at an early age, and you know, watching guys like BK and like real power surfers, like and positioning and all of that, and that doesn't come from ambition. It comes from time, and you got to just like sit back and observe, and then you'll find your rhythm with it. Like I always admire like a guy like Gavin Beshan, for instance. Like he sits underneath, and I was lucky enough to become friends with Derek and Michael Ho and Buttons and a lot of these guys, and just listen and be a student of it, you know, and not try to be the guy. You don't need to be the guy. I like to be around the guys. I like seeing guys do things, and then maybe
get your turn.
Maybe you get your turn
out of it because you show respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you so much. It's really cool what you just said. I totally identify with. Funny you said the word mana, because you know, when I moved to Maui in the North Shore of Maui in the late 70s or into the early 80s, yeah, I had long, bleached out, fried out, pretty white hair because we surfed every day, you know?
Yeah.
And blue eyes, and I'm a little more brown than the average, like, tall white guy. But, I mean, I was getting a lot of heat when I just showed up. I had been going to Hawaii for a long time, so I knew the vibe. But I'm never going to take. I'm always going to give back. It's just how I was raised and what I'm about. But so I really understand the plight, and I would tell them, you know, I'm not, when they first were coming in hot, go, you know, fucking howly and all. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I literally would tell guys that were very intimidating and big, like, I'm not your enemy, brother.
Yeah.
Like, I know you want to put me in that box, but just give me a shot, man. I'm going to show you that I'm not your standard white guy. And they're like, what? So I go, could you please not call me Howley? Because I'm not going to call you Moke, okay? And they'd be like, what? You know, what? And I'd be like, no, man, that's just not my spirit, you know?
Yeah.
But I paid my dues because I showed my heart. Yeah. And so, yes, I understand why they're angry, because I would be angry if I was them as well, because I come from a place that actually has had the same shit going on. Yeah. And we have a hard time getting respect here by people who just show up and act like whatever. But, it's, you know, we don't get to really be... we don't get to legally be violent like they were able to for decades, you know?
You just got to, I don't know. I kind of exercise like a 3-strike rule, like especially in Laguna, because there's a lot of transplants and people who come in, but it's like, okay, everyone's got a different past, everyone's got a different story, it's like you got to show some grace, right? And then, but you know, if they cross the line, it's also just like anything, like you have to put the law down and do it in a way where it's like, if you don't educate, if you don't have a voice, then the culture is lost.
100%.
So, I mean, do I have a reputation as a local? Yes. Am I like a total dick?
No,
I don't think so.
It's not your style.
But I am a very
firm.
vocal. Yeah, firm's
firm.
Firm's a word. Vocal component of the Preservation Society. You know what I'm saying?
I love that.
But and there's a pecking order. I mean,
Totally.
waves are finite, and there's only like so many waves in a set, and there's only so many swells in a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, back of the line. You know, so yeah, anyways, I think that goes for any local break you go and surf, and I approach it like that. I'll sit down the line and wait and watch who's good, and like you approach it calmly, and you never paddle to the peak, and
I
you
never
don't
did that. Yeah.
never.
I never did that.
And you don't, and you know, even with a friend, you wait till you get to the point where they say,
sure.
"You go,
Go for it, Chief." Yeah, yeah.
go for it," and
I've
that's
always
like,
been that guy.
yeah, I've always been. It's like, what's more important? Like for me,
Having fun.
like I was in Morocco recently. I was like, I'm like, some guy's ready to go. I'm like, hey, friends are more important than waves. Getting to know you is way more important than this.
I'd love to
wave for
see
me.
a bumper sticker like that. That's so rad. That's so rad. Friends are more important than waves.
I've had enough
I
in my
totally
life.
agree.
I've
Totally.
surfed so many good waves.
not
I'm
gonna be
like,
all weird. Yeah.
why get weird about
Or
it?
greedy or whatever.
That's it. Like, have it.
But
Like,
the ethos that I grew up in around at San Clemente Pier, the ethos at the time was when I was a Grom, Marty Geishan, Gary Ziegler, myself, a couple guys were allowed as Groms to be at the pier. Otherwise, there was no Groms. Groms were scared to be at the pier. It was a full-on fear, gnarly, like, because the older guys that we grew up with were full-on enforcer, violent people.
yeah.
Like, and I remember guys would try to come. This is a story I've told one too many times, but I can't help it. I remember seeing because I have friends at every beach, and guys would come from T Street, which is kind of like there was a big rift between T Street and the pier back in the day, and because that was kind of more of like a, you know, whatever, for whatever the reason it was a different kind of crowd. And so the T Street guys would see good ways of the pier and kind of be walking down, and the older guys, the guys would be, you know, I don't even want to mention names, would be like, get gnarly and just kick them out, like just run them out, like out. And they were super tough, violent guys, and T Street guys weren't gonna have. They were just like, oh shit, okay. So I remember thinking, as I was a Grom, going, you know, I'm stoked they kind of like, it's cool because I got the spoils of all that protectionism. We got to surf with no people except pier rats in the 70s. That was it. You weren't surfing there, and it was kind of cool because you didn't have a crowd. But I remember thinking, you know, I just love people, man. I always knew I wanted to travel. So I'm like, well, how am I going to be Mr. My Wave guy when I want to go and see the world?
Yeah.
So I got to show up in the world. I got to bring the spirit so for me, when it was my turn, was when I came back from, you know, when I came back from living on Maui and I moved back, it was my turn. I mean, it was our turn. It was my generation's turn. And I kind of walked right into a role that was that guy. And I was just showing a lot of love, but also doing what you're saying. Like, I never had to actually put my fist on someone's face.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, without a certain element of intensity and fear, I don't know how we do that. Like, I remember this Grom, Shane Jenkins, and he I just got back from Maui, and he's like dropping in on me at the pier, and I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, that's not what do you mean? Like, I earned my turn.
It goes outside of like, I was just like, I had a banker tell me, like, I heard about localism. That's so small-minded and so terrible. And I was like, put it in perspective. Okay, how long have you worked to have your position as a banker behind this desk? And then I'm okay, well, I don't even know how to use a computer, but I'm going to go sit behind your desk right now and tell you to beat it. And I'm going to like start just like,
great parallel.
Seeing your accounts and then I'm, you know, who knows? I'll probably mess up every set.
How did he respond to that?
He was like, "Oh, I like that."
And
he kind of related, but it's just kind of. It was that was the context I had at that moment. But I was like thinking about it. It's like anyone who works really hard at something, or builds the relationships. I had some guy go off on me the other day. I'm like, "Well, do you know this kid's name? Do you know that's Jeff? That's Tyler." You know, that's that's at Riley. That's Brook Street. Have you fed
at Brook Street? Some guy was giving you. Have
you fed any of them? Do they use your hose? Have you given them rides?
Love your take on it.
What have you done to contribute
to this community?
And like, I'm like,
just like
you're too aggressive. I'm like, I'm not.
I'm not aggressive enough, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's a line because I have. Oh, it's just like, you know, I have a lot of fire inside me, and I have fire for the truth. I have fire for brotherhood. I just have really a tribal spirit. And it's like, you know, I think everything all the way to my nickname says a teenager kind of represents that, you know? It's like, it just kind of trips me out that people you know, it's a subject we could talk about forever, so I don't want to get
Yeah,
too tapped
we
into
can
it. But
move
I
on.
do like to say that surfing and brotherhood is number one. Friends, you know, and before waves, you know, just that whole spirit is awesome, man. Super awesome. So here we are now and moving forward. So you kind of ventured into, you know, your NSSA. At what point did that move into another? Where did you go with that? Completely on your whole competitive, your competitive
I
run.
graduated high school and went straight into doing the Bud tour. And,
Cool.
you know, I was lucky enough to, you know, I grew up in Laguna where guys like Michael Thompson, who formed Gotcha and all these people. So we had I had opportunities to travel and to start the contest. And, you know, ultimately the idea was to make the tour. But for me, there was a turning point because the magazines were doing good. There was a lot of films being made, and I wasn't in the Momentum crew and I wasn't in the Lost crew. So I was like somewhere right in between. I was, you know, after the Gotcha days, I went into doing World Jungle, and it was with Jack Denny, and
You did that with him in what way? Like how
like
you
he
were
brought me
involved?
in as his
Sick.
his grom. I basically
Sick.
shadowed him.
Sick.
And I did it was 1991, mind you. The magazines went from this thick to like
Boy, did they.
little catalogs.
Yeah.
And they're like, and
From
so
thick
the
to
opportunities,
thin.
so the opportunities were like, hey, it's time to roll up your sleeves. And that was right at the beginning of my trajectory to do stuff. So I got versatile. I, you know, was helping with the marketing and the team, and then building their movies, and then helping, you know,
Sick.
he would even like drive the van up to downtown LA, grab the garments, go to the cut and sew in Santa Ana, like
So
all the
cool.
background. But he is an artist and one of my favorite surfers. And we travel, we surf waves, you know, we surf YMA and off the wall together and
So cool.
all that stuff. So it was a natural for me. I'm like, I'm working for a true surfer.
Totally.
And
But
I
really
learned,
cool dude.
and I learned a lot, and it was
Everyone always liked him, I thought.
Yeah.
One of the most loved and respected roots guys from Laguna, and he did his own brand. I mean, I just always thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
And World Jungle was cool. It certainly fit my whole vibe.
Yeah,
you
I was
know?
kind of, I was raised like, I think Laguna showed a lot of diversity. It was like you go to Michael Thompson's house and, you know, he's reading Italian Vogue and he knows some other guy, and you're kind of reading like, wow, it's a big world out there. There's a creative element to it. There's a musical element to it. There's a film, print, all that kind of stuff. And it was always surrounded. I was lucky. I had like, hey, go pick up Martin Potter, go pick up Shane Horan, take him surfing. You know, as soon as I had my driver's license.
That's so cool.
So it's kind of cool. And like,
they don't get cooler than Shane Horan.
yeah.
I've known him forever. He's such an awesome dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like lucky, and it
Of
just
course,
kept
you know,
me.
Martin Potter did a big spark in San Clemente as well. So
Yeah,
those
big
two
time.
names are very synonymous with love.
Yeah, I'd never seen anyone go so fast on a wave, and I was like, I'm gonna,
mind blowing.
I just want to go that fast.
Exactly. God, he was ahead of his time, and he was so like radical but cool, and he was just everything. I feel like at the time he showed up, he just sparked the world.
100%.
Gosh, man.
Yeah.
And he ended up being world champion 89. Is that correct?
Yeah, 89. Yeah.
89. And I would just remember, I mean, just wow. San Clemente, Laguna Beach, San Clemente, what we've had the pleasure and the great opportunity to be around and be raised amongst, you know, Rick Griffin was my neighbor, you know, all these different people that you're around, a lot of artists, musicians, surfers, you know, or construction workers here, you know, there was people that worked in restaurants, construction workers, and the rest of them were all trying to figure it out through some sort of way to stay in the water. For that would be art, music, or whatever it was, odd jobs, but a lot of just what a culture to grow up in.
Yeah.
And so, what films have you worked on? Just to talk film, I'd love to
Yeah,
talk
it
film.
started in the World Jungle days. I did the first movie, Raw Energy.
Yeah.
And then we did Aquatopia.
Oh yeah,
which
I
was
remember
super
Aquatopia,
fun,
yeah.
and then some time went by. Then I started working with helped the Malloy brothers out with Shelter.
Oh
and,
my gosh, those are such artistic movies.
Thicker Than Water.
Oh my gosh, beautiful movies.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah, and then from there, I've always kind of had a behind the scenes role. It was like funny because I did Globe's movie, Somewhere, Anywhere, Everywhere, produced that, and anyways, then I did an independent movie called Lost Profits after that.
Now, is that a feature or doc?
These are
All docs
these are
that you
all
mentioned.
surf films, like
But
straight,
documentary style. Not really acting.
Shelter was kind of
not
doc
really
style.
like act. Not really like movie acting and all that. More like documentary.
Yeah, run and gun.
There was a story.
It was candid, and all that.
Yeah.
And like I always like telling, like have some
story.
Yeah. But the music and everything. But like I always play that role. I'm
Very
like, hey,
artistic
I don't
movies.
want to like go fully immersed in it because I still like to surf, and I ended up with waves in the movie. And, so I was kind of like setting a stage to be around great surfing, and then also have a creative outlet too. You know?
Oh man.
So it's nice to be on both sides of the camera in that setting. The just watching things come to life or developing them along the way and cast, who's going to go where and what, and then know the weather and the locations and the crew.
The producing side of it,
It's fun. It's fun, and it's fun to also pair music and get the cuts right, and it's
I just think
a joy.
It's super stimulating. I love film in every way, shape, and form, and as that moves forward, what I also know is that the arena itself has changed so much. Just like how we get music has changed, and how we see movies has changed, and how surf films originally back in the day were four-walled, and then they ended up being on a little DVD at a movie store, at surf shops, and then like in a sense, the distribution model and how the people receive it now with the internet, things have shifted so much, and trying to find your spot, because obviously they got to make money to keep it rolling.
Yeah.
So,
you build budgets on the idea of syndication and purchases of DVDs and or VHS. And then, you kind of work backwards. And then, there's a few different broadcasting opportunities internationally and nationally.
Cool.
So you'd build a budget around that.
Mm-hmm.
Like right when I did the film Lost Profits, that was in 2009, was like the distribution houses just crumbled. So I'd had thousands of copies of this thing. And we're like, all right.
That you were cashed in on?
Literally
like cashed in on?
Lost Profits.
Oh, wow.
It took on a different name.
Sure.
No, but
same,
which was a passion project.
PROPHETS for PROFITS. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Everyone's greatest fear to be bought in on, thousands of copies, and all of a sudden there's a shift.
Yeah.
Gosh.
But whatever.
But
it was.
You live and learn.
Well, we had a lot of fun making it.
Exactly. And so here we are today. I mean, are you involved with any film projects, currently, or what's your most recent one, or, where's that stand?
Yeah. I've been working on, for 14 years, I've been the director of the Mauli Ola Foundation. We work with kids and adults with cystic fibrosis, which is a pulmonary genetic disease. And, it's proven that the ocean is a natural therapy. It mimics their treatments at home, where they use nebulizers with hypertonic saline, and then they need a percussion vest that helps them expel mucus and limit infection. And surfing's aspirational and so it's like one of those things. So to segue back, I've been working on a documentary about a girl named Melissa Papageorgis that's been 8 years in the works. So that's been one of the projects, and then working, a little bit with Archie and Christian Morello, doing fun things,
cool.
Or I don't know, we're still filming and creating, and everything, there's a storytelling element to the Mauli Ola Foundation, educating and advocating for who we service and letting people know about that. Yeah.
Where would, say, for instance, like I would imagine, cause I've been to the Rivian Theater quite a few times, and, what a cool way they've turned that around, And I would just think, well, gosh, that would be an incredible place to see the Mauli Ola movie. And like, I always just wonder, I guess as a filmmaker myself, I'm always wondering, like, how would it be aired? What would be the business model behind it? Because that's what really generates more work. If we get too far down the artsy path, we don't all of a sudden pay attention, like how are we going to at least sustain itself? Right. So, I think that, I don't know what's going on with that, but I just always have an interest in understanding a little bit more as the shift in the tide and all that. But, and then on the music side, I know you're very involved with music in many ways. Obviously, I think everyone knows you were really close to Taylor Hawkins, and I'd love to hear more about that chapter in your life.
Yeah. I mean, it was really fortunate because Taylor was, most important, super talented, and, but also had no ego. Like, he was just a really pure individual. He showed up to he was in board shorts all the time, and the music world loved him, you know. And I, being his best friend, I had the keys to the castle in a way, you know. It was like I got to be privy to getting to know all of these people. You know, if you saw his tribute show in London and in LA, it's like, it's kind of like
global love for that guy.
A lot of love for him, you know, whether it was, you know, Rush or the James Gang or all the way to the, you know, the Pretenders and everybody else.
Everyone loved him.
Yeah.
How could you not?
Yeah. He was a very likable and relatable human. And, it was great.
And drummer. I mean,
and an incredible music. And mind you, piano player, guitar player, singer, frontman,
surfer,
writer, surfer. So we had a lot of fun. I was, I was in his first band.
Sick.
What was that called? No, we were just talking. We're talking about like junior high school, like learning instruments.
Sick.
We were in marching band and all that kind of stuff. So I was on sax. He always played drums.
Are you guys the same age?
Yeah.
Actual same grade.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Okay,
Yeah,
you guys met at like junior high school or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Sick.
Exactly.
Wow.
So he was, you know, it's kind of funny, but we got to this point where I knew he was kind of destined, and it's like no plan B, you know what I'm saying? And he kind of really always friends, especially even later in life. It was like, pick a lane. And I'm like,
Totally.
Surfing's your deal. I'm the musician, you know?
That's
So
what
I'm
he
like,
said.
and like,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been playing. I love it. I love music. I've, been working on soundtrack supervision and all this stuff, played my whole life. But, it was cool, just that whole journey, because for me, it was like, we always try to bring out our best selves. He needed to be his best self. I needed to be my best self, but we were best friends. But it's like, pick a lane. We both appreciate each other, you know, all his demos and raw tracks, and like, hey, listen to this, give me some feedback. Like, what's this look like? And, you know, he jumped up and helped me with some soundtrack stuff. And
that's so cool. Do you remember when, like, the moment when, like, how did that work out? When the probably a big moment in his life, I would imagine, when the Foo Fighters was formed, and then he was, you know, going to be the guy.
Yeah, that happened fast. I mean, he was with, we were roommates at the time, and he got the demo tape from Alanis Morissette, and she was relatively unknown. He just got his first. There was another Canadian woman singer named Sass Jordan, who he finally got like a paid gig. He kind of broke up the band dissembled, who was like the band wanted to be the next Nirvana, you know, like their high school band, you know, kind of thing. And then he was like, I got to get paid to drum. He was working at Tower Records.
The one
anyway,
in El Toro or up in LA?
Sorry,
the Guitar Center off El Toro right there.
Yeah, he'd ride by the Guitar Center and work out there. And then so he finally got a gig. It led to Atlantis. He was there and rode that wave. And then they're touring at the festivals. Then he met Dave, and they're just kindred and like boom, you know,
radical.
So
I didn't know he drummed for Alanis Morissette. I didn't know that. And then he just kind of naturally grooved into they formed. Was he there at the formation of the Foo Fighters?
No, there was a drummer before him. It came a little later.
Okay.
After that, Dave did the whole first record by himself. The second, anyways, it was like, the second record he recorded and played. But they just hit it off, and they're
cool.
They have a really amazing chemistry. They always did, both live and in the studio, and you know.
Yeah, I heard so much about the whole connection, the vibe. And what's funny, you mentioned Nirvana, and I just always thought it was just amazing that Dave Grohl was the drummer of Nirvana, and then the singer and guitarist of Foo Fighters, and Taylor ends up the whole thing is just God. Yeah, it's incredibly like this huge spark, you know. Even down here, we're just like blown away by that.
Yeah.
Because really, I want to say, no one from our town yet, at least, has actually, no musician from our town has really hit that big, you know? I want to say. I mean, I know Joshua Paskowitz and Adam had their song with the Flies, you know, that song that hit it, you know, pretty big, still being played, you know?
Yeah.
So that was kind of our first, like, whoa, my God, our friends are on MTV, you know?
Yeah.
But, and then, you know, there's just, you know, because, I mean, so many musicians from here, so many artists from here, but for us collectively, even though, you know, Laguna Beach and San Clemente are different, we're still proud cousins of what that was, you know. No way. You know what I mean? Because it's just so exciting when one of your own, in a way, not as close as you guys obviously, but it just is like, you hit the big time. That's the big time. That's hitting the big time.
No, I mean, that's when you get to that level. I mean, he was the people's person. He becomes part of everyone owns him, you know? He owns himself in his own soul, but he gave himself to showbiz, and left it all on the stage, if you could say, you know, like that. And you know, I was lucky. He had a side project called Chevy Metal, which was just a cover band.
Yeah,
and I was their manager for 10 years, but it was more like, hey, this is a great escape to go do gigs, and we just operated in a funny way. He was like, it's like a brown bag. Like, let's not take any more than 10 grand. It's got to be cash, and we're gonna tour. We're gonna make trips because we have to bring home money to our wives, you know. So, so it was a great excuse to go to Australia or Costa Rica or Chile, and we did all these touring, and we played like, you know, the XXL Awards. We played like fun gigs, and yeah, it was always an excuse to keep our tribe together.
Rad.
And
that was like a cover band?
It was it was cover. He was really self-deprecating, so he's like, we're the worst wedding band in the world. And it was really fun. And obviously they weren't, because they weren't. And then you're sitting there and I'm like, who's coming tonight? I'm like, oh wow, there's Stuart Copeland.
Oh my god.
Wow, like there's you know, Pink's gonna come do a couple songs.
Wow.
Or you know, we've had a lot of people
such a cool name too. I like the Chevy Metal. That's really classic.
Yeah, Chad Smith. And anyways, it was just a lot of fun to be a part of and share the simple joys of like just rock and roll.
Rock and roll, being in a band that wasn't huge, so it got to be just more, you know. It wasn't huge like Foo Fighters. I'm sure it did really well, but it was just more of like.
And he got to be the boss.
Raw.
So it's like, So yeah, Dave wasn't his boss on that. So Dave would come and play with us a lot, but he's cool. Like, I kind of want. It's my band.
Beat it. No.
No.
So
I'm doing the set list.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Anyways, no, but there was always a lot of love there, and it was a lot of fun to do, and it led to some really fun adventures. Yeah, Rolling Stone did like this little thing. It was like, did a thing on Taylor, and he's like, yeah, my buddy Hans turned his management gig as a way to fund his surf trips.
And there's like, the scam, ladies and gentlemen.
There's some truth.
Yeah.
So I packed my bags and jumped on board. I think his band likes having me around.
What the f*** are you doing on tour with us? You don't belong here. Get a job, Hans. Go home, man. Go home.
Which is, there's nothing better than that. I like what you said. I think before we even started the cameras, you said something about, you know, whatever we're doing, we're just trying to stay in the water, you know?
Yeah.
And that's at the core of any surfers, to try to figure out, you know, I think especially when you come the generation we come from, it's, you know, that's what it was all about, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have some sort of job that I got. The waves are good. I just want freedom.
Yeah.
It's the pursuit of freedom.
Yeah.
Surfing taught you about freedom. Being on a wave felt free. Being able to remain, being able to get in the water when the waves are good is about freedom and how we pursue making money, and that whole, in a sense, that art.
Yeah.
You know, I had a friend who now lives in Ulupalakua, Maui, for 30 years because he came to Maui to see me and he never left. But he was an artist that I really was like a mentor to me here. And he taught me a lot about life, and he's taught me that life is art, and art imitating life, and life is imitating art, you know? And so it's your life is art. And he really taught me this thing when I was a young teenager, how to see the world. I don't think he meant to teach me. I mean, he was just living his life. I was just picking it up from him. And so there'd be a lot of guys like pounding nails and construction workers, and they all be pretty pissed off by the time they get off work at 5 o'clock, go down to the pier, and we'd be, you know, they would kind of have this anger, like, get out of the way. We've worked hard all day. And I'm like, well, that's a bummer. But, you know, like, then there was other guys that kind of like had this whole other thing that, like, I don't know how to even explain it. You know, so many cool guys like that back then. And so as we move forward, things got more expensive, and that got more challenging to do.
Right.
So we have to figure out ways to keep the dream alive.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know about nowadays. I don't even know. I don't even know how that works out. A kid's going to be 20 years old and try to figure out how to pay the rent that it is now, and the $6 a gallon gas, and how how much insurance. Gnarly. They inherited a pretty gnarly situation.
The youth is getting a pretty raw deal.
They really are.
You know, we could go into all that. Like,
we're
housing
lucky.
crisis. We're really lucky, and
we just want to be appreciative because we were lucky, man.
Yeah.
We got to live in an era, and we're still here. I mean, we're still doing it, but it's just, you know, what a great time to be around. So there's, let me ask you this. So who would be your top 10 favorite surfers of all time? Okay, Hans. I know that's just a deep
that's
one,
like
but
that's like the daunting question. I always like that question. It's like, what is your favorite song? You know,
that's
like
a gnarly one. If we're saying that's the one, that would be tough. Like I literally have a list of my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
Right.
You know, because I have it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, even with actors, I have a pretty clear understanding who my favorite actor. When it comes to surfing, there's been so many people in our lives, or we didn't know. But it's there. It is, my man. I'm throwing it out there to you.
I mean, yeah, you have to start. I mean, Tom Curran is like, yeah, kind of the first and obvious choice to me. You know, at that era, I was really into. I mean, I watched a lot of those movies growing up, like with just Sean Thompson's barrel riding back then, and maybe it was documented in a way and talked about in a way that it's like it really got inside of my imagination. Yeah. You know, there's so many great underground guys that just blow my mind, and over like the big wave community like absolutely trips me out. Like watching what Greg Long's done,
totally,
and watching what like Grant Twiggy Baker, and to see that stuff and be in the water and see it, like what Shane Dorian's doing.
Insane.
It blows my mind. But then I love just really raw, great surfing. And like San Clemente, I'm like, you know, Archie's like, he's still so good.
Insane.
And then, you know, it kind of leads to like, gosh, I mean, where do you go from there? I mean, Potts.
There we go.
Potts is up there. And then, you know, and then there's like Laguna Beach. I mean, like my crew, like I love surfing with Sly Dog and Tristram, Mongo and Frog. Like they're still ripping and traveling a ton. Jack Denny, you know, falls under that, you know, and
absolutely.
Yeah.
All really great surfers, great people to be around. I think that's 5 so far.
All right. I do. I definitely pick Dane Reynolds. Yeah, Dane.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, damn. Every time I've ever seen that man, I'm just going, whoa.
Yeah, and obviously the magic of Kelly Slater. I mean, he's inspired. It's just undeniable. Connected to the ocean. And I just look at people when you talk about connection, then you go back to another like guy like Gavin Beshan, who's so unassuming, and the waves he's gotten in his life are like a Chris Ward.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
But
we want to throw it out there to Chris real quick because I heard that he just got in a gnarly motorcycle accident and broke his leg in like 3 places. Want to say, want you to heal well, my man. Thinking about you in our prayers and our thoughts. Love you, brother. Just that's a gnarly thing. So just want to let you know we're thinking about you, my man.
Yeah. Oh man.
That's heavy, right?
That's heavy.
So I think that's 8,
Chris.
And I think we got a couple.
And then
more
I got to go to some of the roots like Buttons was always my favorite. You know, the saying of the guy having the most fun is the best surfer. And he was a guy who just kind of energetically brought that. And then, you know, my dad just always instilled watching BK. I got to watch Barry surf and just
Barry Kanayapuni, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
The true power surfer, right?
Yeah.
Drew lines that I still remember. In the early 70s, some of the lines I saw him draw, I still remember like the approach that he had as a 12-year-old. I was just like in awe of his surfing.
Yeah,
so love that you mentioned BK.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
And I want to say, I'm just going to throw this out there, and I think it's kind of cool, is I know that you're a regular foot, and I know that I'm pretty sure every single person you just mentioned was. I mean, maybe a couple of the Laguna guys weren't.
I didn't say Aki. I should have mentioned
Aki. We can
Aki.
make 11 for you, my man. We can make 11. We can have your.
Taj Burrow in his prime.
Oh man, there's a 12-pack right there. No, seriously, those are all valid names, and we don't get to. You know, we do 10, but hey.
All right.
We can allow 11 or 12. It's not stiff, but we were doing 5. I know Alex talked about it earlier. We were doing 5, and that was just ridiculous. Like people would go away going, "Oh my God!" It just feel like you're torturing their soul almost to only mention 5 of their favorite surfers of all time.
Yeah.
So 10 just seems like a great shift that we're doing this season on the show.
Yeah.
But all awesome names, man. Really great to hear who inspired you, why they were your favorites, why they are your favorites.
Yeah.
And then what are we up to today? Like what's going on with you nowadays?
Well, besides running the Mauli Ola Foundation, I've been getting, my kids I'm empty nested right now because my kids are off to college and my daughter's off doing her thing. And so I've been traveling a lot. Like, had this year. This year I was in Portugal, and then I was in Morocco, and then I was in Hawaii, and then Japan on a snow trip, and then down in Costa Rica, and then so I've been keeping moving a lot, and getting waves, trying to just keeping the flame lit.
The
flames,
cool. I just want to say, very cool.
Flames lit.
Not everyone gets to have that next chapter with that much freedom and movement.
And mind
travel.
you, I'm
super stoked.
Yeah.
What were you do? Was there any connection to work? Was that just pure going surfing? Like,
I think everything connects back to work.
Sick.
There's
somehow you figure out a dial.
There's just, I mean, if you surround yourself, I think geography should come first. The people you surround yourself in those areas, because that's on. So you find yourself in the mix of the people, and then you find also your stoke level high, and you find your imagination working, your brain working. You could think outside, and I think that kind of movement, to me, when you're doing truly, I mean, life, it's not a rehearsal, This is not a rehearsal.
Oh, that's an awesome thing to say.
And we're not like, you're not getting your physical prime back. Like, I just always approached it like, man, I could still do that when the phone rings, like, hey, or you see a storm or a swell or an opportunity to go someplace you've never been. I'm just at that point. I'm like, I'm going. I'm not gonna. I know for sure I'm not gonna regret this.
Cool.
So
yeah.
that's
totally.
That's been it. I mean, I work with people with terminal illness, and that's a really great reminder of mortality and time on this earth, and just doing stuff you're not going to regret.
So cool. I feel like there's so much to take in, to return back to how we process what we experience and then give it back, and that whole kind of energy, right? And I think it's fair to say that, another thing we were mentioning earlier, I feel like you're the greatest example of a modern day Renaissance man. All the things that you've done, all the things that you're into, how you've woven them together into a lifestyle that allows you at this age. You're how old now?
54.
Okay, so at 54 years old, you're traveling, surfing these places, being able to do the work you love to do, and navigating that journey. I just think that's very inspiring to anyone who would hear your story, because I think that's what it's really all about at the end of the day. Doing what you want to do, figuring out how to make it work for you. And with surfing, there's really nothing more beautiful than being able to go to, see the world and go play in it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Where have you not been that you would like to go the most?
I don't know. There's just, I do want to surf skeleton on its day, on a good day. But yeah, time's ticking. Like, I know that wave's heavy and really demanding. Yeah, I mean, like
What I know you were telling me you do Bikram yoga and you do, you mountain bike and stuff. And I feel like you're still in the mix in every way. So I know time's ticking, but you do work at staying fit and you do work at staying limber. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Time's ticking, but at the same time,
at the same time,
you're working on it.
Yeah. I like to, I also like to think that, life is long, and, those practices, hot yoga, you could flush out injuries and do that. I've been doing that for 20 years.
Amazing.
And, you got to keep your cardio.
Yeah.
Like, cardio is really important. Yeah. I don't really lift weights. I'm not like on some psycho diet or anything. I live pretty loose. I think your mental health, knowing how to relax, knowing how to be present, I think is good, or just appreciating what you do. Things that put you to bed at night, like, live it up, sleep well,
balance,
balance.
Yeah, not too extreme either way. Just enjoy life, be as healthy as you can, and go have fun.
Exactly.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, I think everyone finds where it fits for them to do what they do, to do what they're trying to do physically.
Go see more live music.
See more live music.
Yeah, dance. Move your body. All that kind of stuff is super important.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just feel like it's so cool for me to think sometimes about an audience that will want to tune into my show and what they could pick up on. And I just feel like I'm so stoked to have you on the show, because your story, I've always I had never known your whole story. We've never been like super tight or anything, but I know we've always known a lot of similar people and interwoven into all kinds of different similar cultures, right? Because we're right here and we have a lot of similar friends. But even though I'm just learning about your story, I think that how cool. Well, seriously. I mean, I think that's the main thing for me. Here we are, 2026. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
Okay. You're 54. I'm 66. And I feel like that whole deal is like, it really is kind of like, okay, well, wow. How did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, here we are doing our deal. Some people have passed. Some people are here thriving. Some people, I mean, I got to say, man, people in my town, I don't know what's gone in your town, but people are dropping like flies, brother.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. Like just in the last month. Ding, boom, bing. You're just going, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No, life is very fragile.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it's just a reminder. Yeah, obviously, you hold a lot of their spirits with us as we go along, and I think about a lot of my friends, and there's a lot of them who aren't still with us, and yeah, it's a good motivation to do what you do, like what you're doing right now, like running a podcast. It's like to storytell, to take the time to take a pause and get to know new people, celebrate the people you already know, some of their stories, and like just do your thing. I think it's nice and to immortalize it, to put a stamp on it as a day. You know, what's today? April 6th, 2026.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, there's this generation. I mean, totally blows my mind. I mean, I was in the gym in Dana Point, and this kid's like 21. He's my friend Xander, and I don't know, I was talking to him, and somehow it came up about I don't know, I said something about Soundgarden, and he goes, "Who?" I'm just like, whoa,
dude,
what? You don't know who Soundgarden? Never. What's Soundgarden?
Whoa,
I go,
dude.
it's a band. And he's just, wow. And then I'm talking to him a little more, and I say something about, you know, I'm like, Alice in Chains? And he's like, who's she?
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. But then I talked to some Groms, you know, on the surf side of things, and they've never heard of Mickey Dora. I mean, that's a long time, but I'm saying it's like, they didn't hear of just guys not that far ago, you know? So I feel like when we were growing up, it was more of a thing. I don't know how it's different with the phone. I don't know what's going on culturally, but there's more information, but somehow there's less.
You can't absorb it.
It's trippy. It's too much.
It's just a big anxiety attack is what it is.
Totally.
It's like, how are you supposed to absorb something that's just flying from all directions at one? I mean,
saturation.
Saturation.
Brain kernel.
No, it's like long form projects, books.
Oh.
You know, magazines, books, you know, movies, like stuff that takes thought and time. You know, I don't know. We were lucky enough to be that. Nowadays, I look at that, I'm like, it's just like instant anxiety. I'm like, okay, enough of this.
I agree. It's really tough. So this is my way to try to give back, so that hopefully, not only in the present, you know, we're doing it for all the right reasons, but also I just think like, okay, like I told people when Jeff New made that movie, San Clemente Locals, and it was kind of corny at the time. It was a cute little thing.
That's cool.
But I mean, it was fun. Okay. And I worked with him on all his movies, and you know, I've had a background in film work as well, and currently and everything that's going on. But I remember telling people, you know, it's all cool now. It's kind of corny or whatever. It's cool now. But in 30 years, you're going to trip on this thing. You know what I mean? And it's been over 30 years, and most like new generation never heard of it. But I'm even in town. Yeah. But the people that comes up, I just had dinner with Jeff New and his wife and my wife. We all went out and it's just interesting to see like now. And it's like people go, oh my God, you know, who was a Grom and who, and so in a sense, you know, the sense of like, you know, kind of putting a mark on that moment in time. So here we are we started this show in 2025, 2026, what we're doing right now. In a sense, I'm, you know, digging it for what we're doing, but also thinking that, you know, maybe there's some like, I don't know, 19-year-old kids right now that are fully into surfing. I can name a bunch of ripping. They're in this town. There's 15-year-olds. I'd just be stoked for them to hear some of our stories too, you know? Yeah. And maybe they hear it. Maybe their kids get to hear it, because hopefully, you know, whatever goes on in the world, there's still a YouTube, and this stuff sits there for antiquity. And so it's kind of my way to give back to my culture that gave so much to me. And I'm just really honored to have you on my show. Just thank you so much for driving down from Laguna and coming to hang out with us boys in San Clemente. Yeah. And I just want to say congratulations with everything you've done and what you're doing. It's great to hear your story.
Right on. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for having me.